Thank you for joining our webinar today, which is talking about Austrian residency for non-EU nationals. And let me start by telling you that there are a very limited number of opportunities in the European Union today for new immigrants to move here, unless they typically commit large amounts of capital to investment or to starting a new business. During the course of this webinar, we're going to explore one specific option, which is residency in Austria. I'm going to explain how you qualify, how you can apply, what status you derive from this application, and how after 5 years you'll have the opportunity to apply for permanent residency. During the next 15 to 20 minutes, I'm going to provide this as an overview. If during the webinar you have any questions, then please either email us here at immigrationintoeurope.com or ask a question via this webinar application. As you'll see on the screen, you can type in a question and send it to us immediately. One thing that I do want to stress at the beginning of this webinar is that this is a very specific visa. This is not designed for people that need to work in full-time employment in Austria, because it does not give you the permission to do that. So if you're an individual that needs to work full-time in Austria, if you pursue this route, then this is not for you. So let me talk to you about Austria itself. Austria is in a fantastic geographic location. They're surrounded, as you can see on the screen here, by countries such as Germany, the largest economic power in Europe, by Switzerland, by Italy, the Czech Republic. It's a very long list of countries that surround Austria. The climate is very attractive. For those of you that enjoy winter sports, it's a fantastic destination. During the summer, the weather is very good. It's a very cultural environment. Vienna is renowned the world over for its contribution to the world's culture. The population size, is around 8.5 million, clearly bolstered by a material number of tourists at different times of the year. And as one of the 12 largest economies in the world when measured by GDP, it's a good environment from a business perspective as well. The resident permit. There are a limited number of residence permits available, and they are available at the beginning of the calendar year. The quota is used very quickly. This is something that you need to consider now and determine if it's right for you. This is for non-EU nationals who are of independent means. So let me reiterate the point that I made at the beginning of the presentation. This is not for the individual who will need to seek full-time employment or any form of employment in Austria. This is not a backdoor route to a work permit, so please be very clear on that. If you go down this route, then your application can include your spouse and children under the age of 18. There's no benefit whatsoever to moving to Austria and then seeking to bring your children with you at a later date, or your spouse. If you don't bring them with you in the initial application, then they'll have to go through the complete process separately to you at a later date. Finally, this is absolutely a route to permanent residency. It is a route to citizenship, and I'll explore both of those in a little more detail. But let's talk about the requirements first. In an Austrian bank account or in an international bank account, you have to demonstrate a level of funding equal to or greater than 24,000 euros for an individual application, rising to 35,000 for a family of 4. If your family is larger, then we can give you the revised values separately. Now the next requirement is one of two. You either must have a university degree or basic German at a level referred to as B1, which is fairly entry level in terms of both oral and written language skills. If you have a university degree, then fantastic. If you don't, then you do have time on your side to pass the German language test after your application has been submitted. Finally, you do need permanent accommodation in Austria in order to apply for this visa, but we can deal with that for you, and in fact that is part of the service that we offer. We will arrange that accommodation and we will provide all of the documentation to prove to the authorities that you do have accommodation in Austria. So if you look ahead, you now have permission, you're going to have a resident permit. You have to enter the country with health insurance for you and for each family member. This is to ensure that you do not become a burden on the local Austrian health service. They don't want to fund any of your medical requirements at all. You have to fund yourself, and you do that by having health insurance in place. I reiterate again, this is not permission to work in Austria. I do receive questions after webinars from individuals saying to me, but it's fine, I'm going to Austria, but how on earth do I earn a living? Well, that's the point. If you don't need to seek employment, then you're fine. But if you do need a work permit, then you do have a problem, because this is not for you. So you now have your permit. You do have to reside for half the year in Austria. It's not something that is actively controlled, and therefore bearing in mind that this is a landlocked country, you can drive across borders into Schengen member states. There is really no difficulty for you to drive across the border and pick up a flight elsewhere. So the truth is that there are plenty of people living in Austria for less than 183 days of the year under this permit without a problem, but you need to know what the regulations say. There are some great benefits with this particular visa. I think that one of the first benefits that is worth thinking about is that unlike other countries in Europe, and I can think of several, you do not have to make an investment. If you look at the UK Tier 1 entrepreneur, you have to commit £200,000. If you look at residency in Bulgaria, you have to commit 300,000 plus euros into a property purchase. This does not require investment. It's a very specific visa. The process is quick compared to many other types of residence-based visas. This is particularly fast. You'll know where you are in 1 to 3 months. This is residence in an EU member state, and as I mentioned a moment ago, you have the benefit of being able to move around within the other Schengen member states. 5 years after you've received your residence permit, assuming that you maintain your residence permit in Austria, you can apply to become a permanent resident. You do at that point have to have improved your German language skills, and you do have to have passed that particular set of tests prior to applying to become a permanent resident, but it can be achieved, and after 10 years you can apply to become a citizen of Austria. And of course, when you're a permanent resident in Austria, you then have the flexibility to move elsewhere within the European Union. The service that we provide is to manage the process for you. We have the expertise in Austria. We work very closely with an Austrian lawyer who will manage all of the application processes for you. We will provide you with advice and information throughout this process, and it's something that the lawyer has been dealing with for many years. Therefore, we're bringing expertise to you through this process, and he has an incredibly high success rate, of close to 100%. At the beginning of the process, you are going to have to appoint the lawyer to act on your behalf, and you will have to sign a power of attorney. That power of attorney is to allow the lawyer very specifically to deal with your application in Austria, because you won't be there and you won't be allowed to be there. Of course, we can provide other advice such as tax planning. That's a separate service, and we would quote for it accordingly, but that information is available and we can help you if that's required. It's very important to note the timescales. This is not something that we can talk to you about in November. By the time we hit November, it's far too late. You won't collate all of the paperwork. We don't want to put you or us under pressure knowing that we won't deliver for you. Now is the time to investigate this and determine if this is the right route for you. It is not the correct route for absolutely everybody. This has to fit with your particular circumstances. But if it does, you need to act sooner rather than later, because we need to get everything ready for submission at the back end of December. And yes, it's only now the beginning of August, soon to be the middle of August, and time will pass very, very quickly. So what does it cost? The fees are here. If you have a family of greater than 4 people, then the fee will increase slightly, and we will share that with you if your family is more than 4 people. But those are the fees. To start the process, you will have to pay 20% of the overall fee, including the VAT. The balance is due when the permit is granted. There is an annual renewal, but bear in mind you're applying for year 1, so you'll apply at the end of year 1 for year 2, at the end of year 2 for year 3. So 2 more renewals, and then at that point your permit will be a 3-year permit. So the annual renewal is reduced to every 3 years, and then after that every 5. But of course you will have reached the 5-year stage, and therefore you can apply for permanent residency. Once you have that, then there is no more annual renewal. So, in summary, this time-limited or quota-limited visa, is great value. Now is absolutely the time to start thinking about it, to investigate it, and if it's right for you, now is the time to start working with us and to prepare your paperwork. You can contact me at the email address that you can see in front of you, info@immigrationintoeurope.com. You can also ask a question now on the webinar page, and you'll see where you can ask a question. We will collate all of the questions, and of course we will send them to you in the next 24 hours, so you will see everybody's questions and the answers that we've provided. So please feel free to contact us if you want to know more about this. If this is right for you, we will help you. We'll be very quick to tell you if we don't think that this is the correct route for you, because we don't wish to waste your time or money. Thank you for listening today. I hope you found this useful.